Those are really sharp, big knives.
It says that we believe the work of children is education and play. No amount of child labour in the cocoa supply chain should be acceptable.
It's sharp. Yeah, okay. Was this from these?
Yes, sir.
He shows me a scar on his leg.
Yeah, the 20
I just want to check one thing. You just said, I'm just going to do my calculator, just so I got the figures right. 4,020. That's what you'll get for, and that will be for a year. It's about 500.
I see you reading like this.
Yeah.
So mistakenly I got it.
I see. And was this the first time you've been injured?
I've been injured many times, but this is very serious.
Should you feel guilty for consuming chocolate from cocoa that was harvested using child labor or modern day slavery? Certainly not. You don't have to feel guilty. You are only a consumer, but you have to be concerned. Interestingly, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire in West Africa together produce about 70% of the world's cocoa to feed all chocolate companies or companies that produce a lot of stuff using cocoa. Also, about 1.56 million children are into child labor who work on these cocoa farms. Well, like I said, you don't have to feel guilty. However, the complexity of the situation here is, who is to blame? Hello, welcome to Mandela Unveiled. My name is Mandela. On this platform, we speak everything health. We pick the bits and pieces of society, the political decisions, the environment, the social, the religious, free decision in society that could have an impact on your health. Something probably you are really not aware about. On this platform, we make it make sense to you on how every decision in society impacts your health. So stay tuned, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, share our videos, and remember to leave us a comment on what you expect us to do more for you. Adios, thank you. As long as children work on these farms, they do not go to schools. And in schools, children are given knowledge, and knowledge, they say, is power. These children do not have the knowledge to give them that power. When these children work on the farms, they use sharp objects, they use machetes. And most of these children who work on these farms are usually between the ages of 5 and 15 years old. You can imagine a child of 5 years old using a machete. These machetes are often very sharp. These sharp machetes can easily cut off or chop off a child's fingers. This leaves the child's fingers traumatized. Such a child will never forget that experience. And it goes on to give such a child a post-traumatic stress disorder. Most of these children who, if you don't know, work on these farms are subject to abuse. They are subject to abuse because most parents, or sometimes most of these people who take these children into this child labor, buy these children or pay them off from their families and their parents, sometimes their parents. So they are more like slaves. So they are subjected to all forms of abuse. This leaves them with a lot of mental stress. Some of the children use chemicals. These chemicals can produce burns, physical burns on their bodies. And some of these chemicals, like sprays and fertilizers, can be inhaled. They can develop respiratory diseases, and at worst, some form of cancers in the respiratory tract. As a matter of fact, most of these children use heavy machines. You can imagine a 5-year-old operating a cutter. Some of these children climb the trees to cut the cocoa pods. These children can fall off the trees. Some fall off and they die. Some fall off and sustain serious injuries and they are admitted to the hospitals. And they are left at the mercy of their master, who probably took them away from their families. Some of these children who work on these farms are exposed to a lot of hazards. The girls can be raped. Some of them are confronted with teenage pregnancy, ending all hopes of a better future. Some children on these farms have never been to school. And in a country where education matters, where unemployment is so high, once you don't have education, you don't have any form of employment. And you have to resort to subsistence farming. And the social determinants of health, employment is a key factor, because once you have employment, it determines your ability to get a job and to live a comfortable life. And once you are able to have a job and live a comfortable life, then your whole mental health is affected. So we see how this child labor trends through the health, the chickpea. Nonetheless, this situation seems to go under the radar. No one really cares. Like I said in the beginning, probably you the one eating your chocolate in the United States, in Canada or Europe. You are not to blame. You are just a consumer. You are just an endpoint consumer. But do the companies need to take the blame? Yes, they need to take some form of the blame. Because if a company like Mars commit $1 billion to fighting child labor on farms that produce cocoa for them, then it is up to a company like Mars, Nestle, and the list goes on to ensure proper supervision. These countries are devoid of child labor. But I believe due diligence usually is not done. Companies are concerned about this just to receive what they have requested for. Once they receive the cocoa beans to produce what they want, then all requirements have been met. If that is how these companies think, then they need to rethink, because they owe it a social responsibility to the society to ensure that people who work and produce the cocoa beans to feed their factories have good education, have good drinking water in their communities, and to some extent, other basic amenities. Well, you can't blame these companies much, because these companies work with people in the producing countries. For instance, in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. A recent news by the CBS investigation indicated that a company called Mars, apparently the third richest family in the United States, produced chocolate, engaged in child labor to produce this chocolate. Like I said, they take some form of the blame. But a bigger part of the blame goes to these supervisors or contractors that work for these companies. These supervisors and contractors that work for these companies tend to employ children to work on these farms, knowing very well that when they employ children, they are getting cheap labor. And once they get cheap labor, they are able to pocket some money that can fund their lavish lifestyles in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. Once they employ children to work on these farms, any form of money that is coming in from these companies as form of payment, probably maybe in terms of remuneration for the work done on the farms. These monies cannot be accounted for. Probably these children are just given peanuts, and the rest is diverted to individual parochial interest. And we have witnessed countless and numerous fraud, corruption cases in Ghana, in the Cocoa Board, where the CEOs and his cronies and businessmen have been engaged in corruption, false pretense to defraud the country of millions of cedis and dollars. And so you see how deep-rooted and thick the problem is. So the companies in US, Canada, and Europe might play a role in this, but the bigger culprits are the contractors and those on the ground in the producing countries. Well, a company in the United States cannot engage in child labor if those they work with in Ghana do not approve it. As a matter of fact, who supplies the list of workers to these companies? Those contractors or supervisors who supply this list of employees or workers to these companies, don't they realize that the list they are producing or those people they are recruiting are minors? Did anyone have a gun to their head or a knife to their throat when they were compiling those lists? Who recruited those people? Certainly it's these contractors or supervisors for these companies. So they certainly know what they are doing. They know that when they employ children or minors to work on these farms, they pay them peanuts and they pocket a chunk of the money to fund their lavish lifestyles and build big homes and live large. So like I said, the companies alone should not take the blame. Most of these supervisors and so-called contractors just receive the monies, buy exercise books, print whatever they want to print on these books, messages of hope, and they just deliver school bags and books to these school children, and that is all that there is. They don't pay them a dime. Even if they are going to pay them, they pay them something even less than $1. And that is how bad these people are. That is how crooked they are. So when we focus all our attention on blaming these bigger companies that produce chocolate, companies like Mars, companies like Nestle, companies like Chelsea, etc., etc., then the real culprits out there in Ghana or in Cote d'Ivoire are on the loose, because they know that when the blame is coming, the companies will take the bigger blame while they are hiding down there. And if the international labor organizations and the government do not partner to crack down on these criminals, they will continue to go on the loose. And once they go on a loose, they continue to exploit children. Not only are these contractors to blame, but the parents in most of these communities are worse off. Some of these parents are worse off. We have seen numerous documentaries in Ghana where parents have apparently sold off their children to work on people's farms in the name of poverty. Some of these parents may play innocent. They may act innocent, but they are worse than the devil's incarnate himself. Some of these parents, for the love of money, The mere fact that they know that money is coming in the hard currency, they are willing to let their children jeopardize their schooling to go work on the farms with them just to make extra money. So once we blame all the companies and the parents are shielded from blame, then they are given a leeway for exit and they continue to act as perpetrators in child labor. Most and some of these parents are worse than the devil himself. Some of them, for the love of money, would do anything. They would not allow their children to go to school. Because if a country has free education, why would you not allow your child to go to school? Why would you hide behind the pretense that the school is far from your home? Therefore, you would not allow your child to go to school and work on the farms instead? Some things do not add up here. And most of these investigative journalists need to probe more. It is good that some of these news have been put out there. However, we need to probe more, to know more, and to act more. This is Mandela Unveiled. If you like our channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, leave us a comment, tell us what you want us to tell you about, and let us know if we are doing things right and what we can improve. I say thank you and have a nice time. We'll meet again. Bye-bye.